Good afternoon, everyone. Let's continue to work on our car game. Okay, first of all, I will decrease the sound again. Volume 0.2, and heat sound I will decrease as well, 0.2. And also I don't need this ground checkpoint. I will remove it from here, and I also remove it from script. And again, I will move this ground checkpoint to the middle, so in order to the middle of the car. So I will raise it to that position. And now I will be able to decrease this value, the ray point, because we previously had some problems with that, with the normal detection. Now if I do not click any button, our car is moving. So I try to disable, deactivate rotations of our sphere, because our car is moving because this sphere is rotating, as you can see here. So I'll try to freeze this rotation. Then I can go to the front. It won't be rotated any longer. I first did it in a game view. So I freeze it again, freeze this rotation. So when I do not click any button, my car will be fixed again. Now let's consider we've added this track here, but this track is really big. But for example, we wanna add some laps control. For example, here we have start and here we have finish. Then we need to go all of the track in order to finish the lap. And this track is really big, so it will be difficult to write a test program here, because we need to write the load in order to finish the track. So we need something smaller in order to test our environment. So I will create empty object here, write environment test, and I will place our test environment to this empty game object, plane cube, these elements, and I will disable it. And I create another game object, again create empty environment, for example 1, and I will place this track here and also disable it. And then I will search for some different track which is a bit smaller. I go to the asset store here, race track, and choose free assets. And for example, I will choose this track because it consists of several paths, so we can create any small track. So I will open it in Unity. You need to add it to your assets first. Then click this button. Click import. Again import. And wait till it will be imported. So here you have some example scene. This one, but let's create how we can create our own scene from these prefabs. So I will open our previous track, this one, and these prefabs here, and I will drag and drop them one by one. For example, this is a start. Then I will add the additional component, track line, example, this one. And by these transform components, you can move them on a scene. And for example, you want to pin these two parts with each other. And how to make that? You can hold V button on your keyboard, and you can move this transform component. So you hold V button, move it, hold mouse button, and then you can pin it to this side. V button and mouse button. Next, let's add some additional component. This rotation component here. So what we need to do, we need to first rotate it. You can hold Control button and you can rotate it in a more precise way. So for example, I want to get exactly 90 degrees, so you hold Control and you rotate it with the mouse. And then again, transform, hold V button in order to change this transform component and pin it here. Next, again, let's add same component to backside. For example, firstly we add track line more. Again, V button, pin it here. This one first rotate, Control, rotate, then change to transform, hold V button and pin it here. Next, add some line. Rotate it first. Control. Transform, hold V, pin it here. And I will duplicate it. You can duplicate components by clicking Ctrl D, so it will be duplicated. And I want to pin it here. Again, V, and drag and drop here. And then I will simply copy these components. Again, or you can use, for example, Ctrl D or Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Copy them. Then I move this part here. I rotate them. Then hold Control and transform V, pin it here, for example, and I will replace this part on simple line track. Again, hold V and pin it here. And I will create empty object and write environment 2. And drag them to this empty game object. And currently it's prefabs. I, for example, can unpack these prefabs. Prefab, unpack completely. And now I need to add a ground layer here first, as it's our ground. So let's start this program and check, can we drive here or not? Down again, probably it's try to put it a bit lower. Again, start. Okay, I better just add some plane. So probably I can add just a simple plane here. Plane. I'll copy it from the previous place. From here, Control C, Control V. And move a bit down. Wanna make here is to control our laps. I'll move a bit here, so we start before this line. And how we can control laps, we can add some checkpoints here, several checkpoints, so we write among them and we count them, and here will be the last one, which is the finish. Once we pass through all checkpoints and finish, our lap has finished. So how to add these checkpoints? I'll create an empty object, create empty. I will add box collider to it. Box collider, change size of it. Press position. Again, scale somehow. And also scale its width, not height, width. And also add some mesh component to it, so we will see it in a game mode, just for testing purpose. So add mesh renderer, add another component, mesh filter, component mesh filter. Here I will add to the mesh render, I will add some material, and here I will add mesh, for example, cube. Search for cube. And this is a default color, and for example I want to change it, so I need to change color. For example, not this one, and I don't want it to be black, for example. I'll create new material. Let's make it red. Change to red, and I attach it to our game object. So currently, if I try to move to this checkpoint, I will hit this like obstacle. So what I can do here is to click here, check this toggle is triggered. So I activate it. Now I'll be able to go through this checkpoint. So I activate, it's triggered here. And I'll create additional checkpoints. Copy it, checkpoint, name is checkpoint, move it somewhere, duplicate it, move to this part, rotate it somehow, and create additional one, Control C, Control V. Again, rotate it. I want to rotate for 90 degrees, so I hold Control. Out here, additional one. Copy this 3, Control C, Control V. Rotate them. And last one for the finish. Sample somewhere here. So I created several checkpoints. I don't wanna store them this way, so I'll create empty game object, name it checkpoints, and make all of these checkpoints as a child towards this empty game object. Next, I'll create a script, checkpoint, create script, checkpoint, open it, and what I want to do is to number my checkpoints. For this procedure, I will create a public variable, public integer variable, public int checkpoint number. And I will attach this script to all of these checkpoints. So I selected all of them and I will drag it to this place. So now I can these checkpoint scripts everywhere. So for example, here's my first checkpoint. I want to give it number 1. Then my second checkpoint, I want to give it number 2, and so on. And here is the finish, my last checkpoint. But we can do it manually. But for example, if you have a big track, it will be difficult to number them all manually. As for example, this environment. It's a big track. You need to place a lot of checkpoints here, and it will be really time consuming to number all of them manually. So what we want to make is to number all of these checkpoints by the script automatically. So we create additional checkpoints and they will be renumbered. So how we can make it? For example, I create additional script, create script, race manager. And I create another game object, create empty, also race manager. And I'll place my checkpoint there, and I will drag this race manager script to this game object and open the script. Also, I made this A letter capital here. I don't want to be capital, so I'll make it small here. And as I change it here, I also need to change it here, otherwise it will be an error. So if you change name of the class, you need to change name of the script as well, otherwise it won't work. So I need to change letter A to small here as well. So names will be exactly the same. So inside this script, what I need to do is create public array variable. Public checkpoint. Checkpoint is the name of our another script, so I make reference to it this way. And I need array. Array means these rectangular brackets, and I name this variable all checkpoints, for example. So let's save it and check this public variable, public array variable, all checkpoints. Script race manager. Okay, again it's letter A capital here. Capital, small. Again, let's check. Okay, now it's good. So here I have my array, and I wanna attach all of my checkpoints here. For example, you can count them out. Count its size of 10. So you can change size to 10 and drag and drop each manually. But again, if you have a big track, it will be time consuming to drag them all manually. So what you can do here is to drag all of them to this array. And as you can see, as I select all of them, I don't have my public array any longer. So how we can fix it? Here I can, for example, in the inspector, click this lock, and now I will be able to check all of my checkpoints. If I not lock it, it will be, I won't be able to see it any longer. So I select all of them, and then I drag and drop them here, and then I can unlock it. So now I have them all here. So what we want to do next is to provide automatic numbering of these checkpoints. So I go to this script again, and what I can do in start is to write function for, first of all, initialize our counter, int I equal to 0. I start counting from 0. As you can see here, the first element in our array has index 0. So in array, elements are starting counting from 0. And then I wanna count till the last element. So I create a condition here, I smaller than all checkpoints dot length. It will give me the index of the last array element. So for example, you change its number, you can provide it manually, but if you change number, you need to again change this number manually inside the script. But if you write this way, all checkpoints dot length, it will provide you number of the last element automatically. And after that, you need to increment the counter I plus plus. And then the function itself, what we are doing, all checkpoints, each checkpoint num equal to y. So when we start our program, this function for all of the checkpoints in length, step by step, we'll provide them a number, a particular number. So they will be numbered automatically. And how we made that? Here we have script our checkpoint. Here we have this public integer variable checkpoint num, and what we made is provided references to it. So that's how this we copied checkpoint name, this name of the class. So it's a reference to the class checkpoint, and that's how we were able to access this variable inside this class, this variable. So I save it. Oh, again, it's capital here. So let me fix it somehow. First I close it here. Again, I make it small. Open it again. Make it capital. Okay, I'll simply create a new script and remove this one. So I'll copy these things out, copy, close it, I remove it, and create the script again. Race manager. Open it and paste my code. Save it. And as I created a new script, I need to attach them again. Again, I click this lock and attach all of the checkpoints here. So currently they're not numbered, but we wrote a program. So now when I start our program, our game, they should be numbered automatically. So as you can see, this one first is 0, and they are incrementing. So That's how the automatic numbering works. Now let's print. Here also previously printed speed. I don't need it, so I will comment this out. So it won't print me the speed on the console. Okay, now it's not printing me anything. So now, for example, I want to add some interaction. I want to interact somehow with these checkpoints. How to add this interaction? Let's first of all create script. Name it checkpoint control. And how we can interact with them, we previously created our sphere object. By this sphere, we collide with other objects on a scene. For example, it has heat sound here, so by using this collider, sphere collider, we can collide with other objects. And by using this sphere, we can also interact with the checkpoints. So I will attach this checkpoint control script to our sphere. And open it. So it was attached, checkpoint control, open it. And how we can interact with the checkpoints. For example, we can use this isTriggered function. As we enabled here, we can use it inside the script as well. So create an additional custom Unity function, public, no, not public, private, void on triggered enter. And this one, triggered enter, will correspond to this triggered variable here. And let's write something here. Condition, for example, let's add tag to all of our checkpoints. Create new tag, add tag. By clicking this plus sign, we create a new tag, checkpoint. So once it was created, I add this tag to all of the checkpoints. Checkpoint, now it has tag checkpoint, so we can interact with these objects by its tag. The condition itself, if other. So if we trigger other object, which is our checkpoints, we are doing something. If other dot tag equal to name of the tag checkpoint, we are doing something. So what we are doing here is, for example, we want to print the number of the checkpoint. Hit checkpoint and number. other get component checkpoint number. So this script is attached to our sphere, the script checkpoint control. When we enter the checkpoint, it is detected by this function on triggered enter, and other corresponds to the checkpoint we entered. Then we check whether this object has a tag checkpoint. Only if it has the tag checkpoint, then we are doing this function. What we are printing here is hit checkpoint, which is simply text, and add some information about checkpoints. So other means checkpoint, and here we are getting access to the component checkpoint and checkpoint number. So what is written here? Get component, our class checkpoint, and inside the class we looking for checkpoint number. So let's try to test it. So our last checkpoint that was printed is the first one, 0. So that's how we can interact with them. Now we learn how to interact with them. Now let's move to the creating the lab itself. The lab will be created inside the car control. For example, because if we have many cars, each of them will have some car control. For example, one car already finished the lap, so it will know that it's finished, and another car maybe not finished the lap, so it will have their own behavior. So we need to create the car control for each individual car. So let's open this script, car control. Firstly, I'll create a variable here, int next checkpoint. In order to understand what is the next checkpoint, and I'll create another variable, public int current lap, in order to increment the lap. By default it's 1, so the first lap is 1, then if you finish the track it will be the second one, and they will be incremented. Next I'll create a function here, public wait check point hit. And here I need to provide the current number of the checkpoint. So I will move to the script checkpoint control, create firstly a public variable, public car control, I will place my car object here to this variable. Let me place it first, and then I'll explain the meaning. Point control, replace it. Okay, sphere. Per control, drag our car. Next, what I need to do inside this script is to, instead of writing simply here name of the checkpoint, I wanna car control checkpoint hit, provide some number to our script car control. So how to make that, how to provide some values inside these brackets, I can first of all write what I want to provide here. Example, I want to receive the checkpoint number. So inside these brackets I can write int checkpoint number. And now it's highlighted because I need to provide something inside brackets here. So what I need to write again, I need to write other and simply these things. So I copy them here. So I provide in the current checkpoint to our another script. And here I need to do something. First of all, let's just simply print this out so we can see that we are really receiving this checkpoint number when I'm entering. It's pretty little here, but we simply check it whether we obtain this value or not, and then we'll do the next things. From one script I provide them to this script, but I don't need it, so I comment this out. We can just check whether these values are coming from another script, and there we can receive them. So next, let's create the lab itself, lab control. So condition if checkpoint num is equal to next checkpoint, we increment the value next checkpoint plus plus. And then we need to get access again to the length of our array. How many checkpoints do we have? We can simply provide a reference again to the script race manager, but it will be additional line of code. And for example, if you have many cars, and for each of them you have separate function for lab. So if you have many cars, you have many car control scripts, and inside the script you need to get a reference to the rates manager again. So there is more simpler way how you can do it. If you need to get multiple reference to this race manager, you wanna need to get reference again to this race manager. So you don't really need to create this manual reference again. What you can do here is to define this class as static public static race manager and name it somehow instance, for example instance. And if you define it as a static, you need to add additional function here, void, which is called void awake, and right here instance dot this. Instance equal with. So the awake function is called before the start, and we need to write it this way in order to make this class static public static race manager. And why did we make it? In order to get a simpler access to this class. So for example, now I'll show it and it will be more clear what I'm making. Again, car control, if next checkpoint equal to race manager. So now I can directly get access to the race manager instance. All checkpoints dot length. So I defined this class as static, so I didn't provide any reference here to this class race manager. I simply wrote race manager instance and I've got access to these checkpoints to the length. This all checkpoints array, which is stored here. If I don't make it static, first of all I need to make a reference here to the script, write race manager and name it somehow, but we made it more simpler, so I simply write race manager instance as a static. So if next checkpoint is equal to the last checkpoint, which is provided by this variable, we simply increment our lab, current lab plus plus. And also we need to reset this incrementing things, so we can write next checkpoint equal to 0. So let's save it and try to test it. Is it? Okay, car control. Where is the script? Car control. Where's my car control script? Car. Where is it? Lost it. Sorry, wait. Yeah, okay. Our car control script. Here we have current lap, and let's check whether it will increment the value when I finished the lap or not. So I'll try to drive my car on the track. So I finished the lap and it was incremented. So now it's the lap 2. Next, let's show this current lap on our screen. So now we'll move to the UI elements, user interface. I'll create a canvas in order to be able to work with the UI elements. So I create canvas here. And this is our canvas. For example, I'll create some fixed resolution. For example, this full HD mode. And here it is. So what I wanna add, I wanna add some elements like our current lap, number of laps. So I'll add several components. I can add simple text, or I can add Text Mesh Pro. The Text Mesh Pro has some interesting style, so I will add it. So when you first click it, you need to import TMP insert shell. So let's click this button to import it to our project. So now I have this text here, and example, I will move it to side, this place above, and I'll here I'll write, for example, lap time in order to show the current lap time. All right, lap time label. Then I'll create lap time indicator. So I'll copy it, locate it below, and here I'll write the some time variable. I will change them from the script later. 0 minutes by default, and 0 seconds and milliseconds. It will be a lap time indicator. indicator. Next I will copy these things and move them down. I'll write here example best lap time simply best lap, and it also will be the time here. I'll change it to best time label and best time indicator. And I also wanna control the laps. So I'll copy these two things and move them somewhere down. I will increase this thing here, I'll write lap, simply lap, with a lap label, and here will be a lap indicator. Lap indicator. And here, for example, 1 from 3, and I want to make it bigger, so I increase its size here, font size, by making it more bigger. And for example, I'll change color for some of them. So it will be yellow, and lap indicator will be of another color, for example red. And I will change the style somehow a bit. So I'll select all of them and change their style. For example, toggle this underlay, and I will delete it a bit, so make kind of outline to make it look more interesting. Make it this way. So now we created our UI interface, and also, for example, probably if we somehow they fixed here, they stay constant, but for example, just in case, we can pin them to this corner and this to this corner, but okay, firstly I'll try to pin them to the center and change the resolution of the screen, and they probably will be changed. Free aspect, yeah, currently we cannot see them. We can only see them on this resolution, so I will try to pin them to a different place, to the corner. Currently they pin to the center, and I will pin them to this corner, these elements. And these elements in the bottom part I will pin to this left bottom corner. So now I'll try to change the resolution, and they will stay here in the right place. Which is better. So next, let's make some programming on them. I will create another script, which I will name UI control. And I will attach this script to the canvas. Canvas here. And open this script. And again, different cars will be referred to this script. So again, what we will make is to create it as a static first. So I'll write public static UI control in order to provide a more simpler reference to it. Control and also on awake void awake I write instance equal to this. So now it will be more easier to access this script for different cars. Next, I'll create a public variable for our text. So I'll write public tm pro, not tm pro, tmp text. And currently it's highlighted because I need to add a namespace for this text. So I can write here using tm pro, and now I'll be able to use this kind of variable here. And I next pointed out to which variable I work with. So I have current lab text, I have best lab time text, and I have lab counter as well. Lab counter text. So to these elements I will drag and drop corresponding text elements to this public variable. So here's a script. UI control current lab time is this one, lab time indicator, and drag and drop it here. Best lab time, best time indicator, and lab indicator to lab counter text. Next, we'll count our labs inside the race manager. So I'll go to the race manager script. Here I'll create public variable, public int total laps. So here it will be defined how many laps we have. For example, we have 5 by default. So for all players it will be 5 laps. So this script is common for everyone, so we defined laps here. Next we'll move to the car control script. And here's our function. It should be, we define here a new function, for example, lap completed, public void lap completed. So once our lap is completed, we need to increment it. And as we increment it here, so here I'll simply replace this one by this reference. And now let's work with our UI element. So I'll write UI control. We made it static, so we can simply get access to it, to these variables. Lap counter text dot text. So what I'm doing now, I'm trying to modify the variable inside this text. So first of all, I get access to this variable text mesh pro, and then I modify this text. So get access to this variable and modify this text. Equal to current lap plus race manager dot instance dot total laps. So what I made here is I'm trying to modify this text. So I provide here current lap, and here I provide total laps and this sign between them. So I provide current lap, and from race manager I provide total laps. And let's try to test it, whether it will be updated or not if I finished my lap. Try to finish the one lap and see if it was changed. So yeah, as you can see here, now the second lap, 2 from 5, and as you also can notice here, when I started my program, here it's 1 from 3, but not 1 from 5. It was only updated when I finished the whole lap. So how can I fix it? I can simply copy this line of code to the start function. So when I start my program, it will also check current lap and total laps. So I started, and currently it's by default 5, 1 from 5. And again I can drive around. updated. And last things, let's figure this time out. So inside this script kcontrol, I will work with the time, so I create public float variable lap time and the best lap time. Then, in order to start counting time inside the update function, what can I do is to write lap time, incremented lap time, increment by time delta time by this fixed time. So what is the time delta time? It's an interval in seconds from the last frame to the current frame, so it will increment our time. Next, let's move to our lap completed script and add some functions here. For example, if lap time is smaller than best lap time, or best lap time is equal to 0, this sign means or. So it means or. And this sign means and. So whether the lap time is smaller than best time or best time is equal to 0, when we just started our game, we provide to this best lap time variable lap time. And then we reset the lap time 0f. Next, we need to display it's on the UI element. So what we can do here is to write var time span. Here I will use the universal variable just to show how it can be installed. System time span from seconds lap time. And currently we just wanna, let's move to the update. Here we are working with the best lap time, but inside the update we show the current time. So let's move here. Here we'll paste this variable, time span, and next. So what this, again, first I'll a bit explain it. So this lap time, it converts lap time from seconds to this time span, and then it's stored here. It's a bit confusing by now, but it will be probably a bit clear later. So again, reference to this instance, current lap time text dot text equal to string dot format. Then we need to define format. Minutes. So I will firstly write and then explain it, what this means. Time span, minutes, time span, seconds, last one, time span dot milliseconds. So what I made here, I tried to create something like this. For example, here we have two numbers for minutes. I'll add here, first of all, I'll add here two numbers for minutes, and here as well. And then I have for seconds, I have 2 zeros, and then 3 zeros for milliseconds. And what I provide here for the zero reference, I provide time spent minutes. For the first reference, it will be time span seconds, and for the second one, it will be milliseconds. So that's how we can this time span transform to this suitable for us format. So I try to save it and test it. Finished the lab, it was ready. And last one for the best time lab, I can just copy these things. When our lab is completed, and here I will replace lab time with best lab time, and I will also replace current lab text with the best lab time text. So I will save it here and try to test it. So I start the program, I will drive around a bit slow because in the next lap I wanna get my best result, best lap result. So now once I cross this final lap, it should show me best lap, and I will try to hit this result. So now best lap was updated. So currently I just wanna see whether we'll get 1 minute or not. So so we'll wait for a while and so we create again control. We create a universal variable which converts our best lap time to this time span format, and then we can use this time span format for minutes, seconds, milliseconds, and we create this reference which we have here. So we transform them one by one here as we have this reference here, 0, 1, 2 for each of them, and modify the text here. So yeah, it was counted, so now it's 1 minute. So that's all for today, all I wanted to show you today.